Yeah, I come from men that stand. I'm in the field and you just sit in the stands. Take that bass out your voice. If you ain't got no gun in your hand, I do what I want. And you don't even do what you can, you do what you told. I got no love for my foes. They can mimic my delivery and copy my prose. But what they can't comprehend is how I stick to this code. It's either in you or not. It's not the kicks and the clothes. They ain't cut from the same cloth. Can't come from the same loom. Fit in similar shapes or even sit in the same room. Confusing authenticity with part of the costume. I'm teaching gifted children. You can't come in this classroom.
Dare to struggle, dare to win.
Yo, how you feeling, bro?
Feeling good, man. How about yourself, good brother?
Feeling black, cold, and hungry.
Man, I'm gonna have to come down to Detroit for a weekend, man. Right.
I don't want to do it, man. What's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, people watching, rewatching? Welcome to Dare to Struggle. Dare to Win. We on episode 6. 6 down, bro.
Oh man, we're getting old around this time.
Getting older. So obviously, y'all know Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win is a CMB podcast or show that talks about Black radical politics from our vantage point. I'm here in Atlanta. My brother Yusef is in Detroit. And yeah, we love being here on Black Liberation Media. Shout out to all of the people in the chat, the smartest chat in the world. As we know, we would love for y'all to copy that link and share that link with some people, especially some people who think about art as people who think about art in general, music and entertainment, especially as they think about the politics of those things. So make sure you share this link with those people so that we can kind of get into some conversations and maybe pull them into more of a radical analysis of what's going on. But yeah, and then later on in the show, we'll have our sister from the Detroit chapter up there with Yusef to come talk about some of their work, though. What's up, man? What's been going on with you, bro?
Man, laying low, aiming high, good brothers. I was trying, they say I hang out with you, I get in trouble and shit, man.
What you mean? You the one brought the trouble to the platform last weekend. Last week, you got people taking stabs and shot at people, man. I don't know what's going on, man.
I don't know, man. You know your South Carolina guys, man.
Nah,
Geechee, that's that. The guy got the appropriate name, Geechee.
I don't know about it, man.
Listen,
man. We've been doing these conversations and trainings and shit like this, and even as we talk about like being in the mass org with people at different levels, what kind of thoughts you have around when you think about us trying to, I guess, politicize or organize people? And we done read these books, we done had experiences, we done visit countries, and like, what do you say to people who have a problem with getting ahead of ourselves? Maybe misunderstanding what conditions that we in, but most of all, getting ahead of the people that they want to organize. Like, you have to meet them when they're at. We always hear that, and we always talk about winning hearts and minds. But like, I wonder what's your thoughts when you think about like not getting ahead of the people that we hope to organize or politicize.
Unfortunately, that's part of the process. That's part of the struggle. Actually, when you read all the books, Blood in My Eye, Seeds of Time, Estada, The War Before, Malcolm X, and listen to all the speeches, they say it all in them. Fred, we quote them, but we end up as we didn't hear them because it's just the natural order thing. And I've been saying this for some years now. Once we take on certain ideologies, by default you become arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying in a nasty way, but just because you know something others don't know, or you become awakened and you want change immediately. You want to get out and fight the system, but the real work is, now that you gain this consciousness, how do you infuse this into others and cultivate it in a way where, because ultimately in any struggle for victory to occur, it has to come at the hands of the people, not the hands of an individual or organization. Mm-hmm. The individual or the organization is nothing but a tool to that process. And I think we get lost in the sauce. And it's also now, because you asked me this question, 10 years ago, I definitely gave you the same answer, But because I lived a little since then and experienced some things, it's so easy to get caught up in capitalist, imperialistic, white hegemony culture because we're so infused in that it's also infused in us,
Mm-hmm.
and our demeanor and our talk to the point where like this is my organization,
Right.
this mine, and like I thought this was for the people. But even to the point, I remember some years ago, me and the comrade like you used this was like we fighting for the people. Or we got to win in hearts. Like those slogans have become cliche
Mm-hmm.
of how to weaponize the people even against themselves because we haven't authentically created the opportunity for the people to be independent of us. We make them dependent upon us,
Right.
which undermines their ability to help lead.
Yeah, I think that's important. One of the things that even as people who come up in the Christian faith or read the Bible, I remember there was parts of it that talk about how one should wait on their ministry. Like you can just read the shit today, and you probably shouldn't be leading a teaching or leading a church after just learning it. As you said, like as you learning the thing, you're supposed to be learning it, relearning it, and sitting with that knowledge and critiquing it and doing all those things before you can deliver it in a way that's digestible for people who either don't know about the thing, have a general idea about the thing, or know quite a bit but have some gaps. And until you can actually teach a thing to those three different type of people, I'm just not sure that um, we should be as arrogant or out there. And actually, I told you earlier I was leading this study session about between enemies and friends, resolving contradictions. And remember, Safia opens up with um, how all the conflict was happening and people's trying to one up each other, backstabbing, manipulations. And she said, those of us in the movement don't see it this way. But to the people outside looking in, those we are attempting to organize, this is what this is what appears to be happening. We see ourselves as being evolved in concrete political work. Depending on what political formation we belong to, we consider ourselves the sole bearers of I keep saying the sole standard bearers of revolutionary principles, the ones with the correct path, and everyone else who is not down with us is incorrect, fools and napes. But if we were able to take a step back to look at the situation objectively, we would have a different view. So when you think about that, right, like most of us have studied enough, experienced enough, been in spaces enough to be like, we're confidently know what we're doing. And we are getting people, or we're trying to get people to, I guess, respect us or move in the direction that we want to move on our way to achieve something that we've never actually achieved before. None of us has never actually achieved revolution. None of us has never really achieved deep social transformation. Even if we lived in those other countries, maybe even if we read about it, whatever, we just never done that thing. So
Right.
sometimes asking people to join in us building this particular society, we tend to, I guess, be isolating it in silos. So I guess also I'm thinking about when you think about building with these communities, right? Some people are going into different communities. Some people are not known for particular things in the community. Like, how do you feel, especially there in Detroit? Do y'all draw on like the people's current knowledge, right? Obviously, let's say if y'all the most politicized group in the community, how do you draw on the people's current knowledge? How do you draw on their customs and lived experiences in a way where, if you're trying to pull them left, you can actually do that without severing a relationship or isolating people because they don't spit your politics or whatever.
Well, that's a profound question because it's so layered. And I mean, for me personally, thinking about coming out of prison and coming home with a consciousness related to struggle, right? And want to get involved and active, but the reality is I had to relearn my community. I had to relearn my family. And in the process, they had to relearn me. And through that particular process, it allowed me to apply the conscience and the knowledge that I had to be able to find the balance of not getting too high, not getting too low. So when opportunities began to present itself for me to be on the news and other things where folks I was relatable, they could see themselves in me because I wasn't coming off as some high sedity person, talking in a way that was just totally disconnected. I always talk about where like people struggle every day, but since they're not struggling around the things that we think they should struggle, we think they're not struggling. That's part of the arrogance. But I mean, yeah, my mother taught me a lot in terms of how to struggle and how to relate to people, and that built and that process allowed me to build trust with her, where when things were going on beyond their reach, they would ask me like, hey, what do you think? Because they trusted me, but I had to be able to
talk with them,
talk their talk. I just can't I can't come out sound like I'm Malcolm, because Malcolm, we love Malcolm, but Malcolm's not relatable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I think that's important, because even as you think about it, like one of the things I said earlier today too is like most of us in these spaces, whether it's online or real organization, we're probably the most conscious person in our family. Right. We're probably like out there left, and they kind of, and it make you wonder, like, how do those people see you? Do they see you as an out there weird person, or do they respect you enough to be like, yo, what do you think about this? Right. And so like if you can't if you can't hold the line and build healthy connections with your family members as your politics evolve, I don't know how well it's going to be in the mother spaces. So.
Yeah, I mean, like me and Quasi, kind of right in Detroit, we joked some years ago where I'm pretty sure, you experience, you go to the family outing, they'll go Geechee, they'll go Yusef, they don't eat pork.
Yeah.
There's already a cloud that covers, nigga, you got the funny hairstyle now, you right. And some of it makes sense because it's a new identity, a new humanity that's being presented to them. But how do you make that digestible? And even like to the point where people treated me like the feds. What I mean by that is when I come by, the niggas who normally smoke weed and drink, let me put my drink up, let me put my weed up, because that brother don't smoke. I don't mean that you ain't got to smoke around me, but I just don't smoke. But it's how do we find that? Because neither one is like, you smoke is not legit. It's not. I don't need to legitimize that, but it's a time and place for everything. But even for myself, I had to figure out how to communicate that in a manner where it didn't make me feel like I'm better than somebody else. But that's part of that process. And I think to your point, where folks are reading books and getting knowledge, but they're not getting organizing experience. When you look at some of our most effective, like what made Malcolm so effective was Malcolm went back to the alleys that he ran. He went back to the corners and to the drug dealers and drug users and prostitutes that he knew, that he could relate to, and organized them.
Yeah, I mean, I think also as you, so you obviously know that there's different people with different styles of learning, right? Some people, whether it's your family or not, probably don't respond well to new information. Some people don't like to be corrected. That's a given, right? But even those people, it seems like you would have to learn how to navigate them or be able to read the fucking room, maybe, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I think that's probably why I also developed a method of asking questions more than like doing a lot of like talking or sharing or whatever. And I'll ask questions because then you can let me know what you do or don't know and how you would or wouldn't say something. And I can know where I can kind of add into. And over time, it seems like that builds trust because, again, you're not the person who's doing all the talking, but like you making the person feel like they're part of the conversation. Right. And I remember writing that in one of my children's book that I published. Like when I was a young boy, I used to rock with the elders who like included me in the conversation as opposed to hit me with a lecture. I'm just like, all right, this shit. But when they like ask me questions and engage me, like it's more of a conversation and it's easier like to connect with them. So I just think, again, like we would have to be able to take all these books and condense that shit down to a question. And you know, it's ironic because even in our study group, the Barter and Build Think Tank, one of our formats is questions are pre-planned. You have up to 3 minutes to answer the question. And then from there, people ask you like clarifying questions. So it's like, even if you have a negative response, how can you morph that into a question so that they can have more speaking time and clarify themselves? And it kind of trains you to be an active listener, but it also trains you to like be impeccable or precise with your words, as opposed to, you know, running around saying a bunch of shit. But
Just reacting.
yeah. But look, man, that kind of put the pretext to what's about to happen, right? We about to transition, let y'all take a break, and we have seen and heard all of these response to Kendrick Lamar, and our good sister has blessed us with something that we could read and sit with and share with your cousin who be like, but Kendrick is a revolutionary. But anyway, so take a little break. We'll be back soon, really shortly, with Sister Renee.
I'm throwing copper at the coppers, but I'm shaking like maracas. Say my prayers with the pistol, serve the sinners with the chopper. All my buddies got it from scratch. My house had Betty Crocker. His mama owned D. He ain't even get no shot up. Profit is invisible. Profit come from product. He thinking buffet. He can't comprehend no potluck. God bless the child with his own powder to rock.
So it's Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win. We're here with my brother Yusef. This episode 6. Shout out to Sister Renee, who's in the building. Actually, Renee, I have to find this way to pull you up because it's hiding the people who are not on the camera. I can't remember where it's at. Actually, where's that, Renee?
You asking me? You know I don't push no buttons.
Hold on, let me have that. But anyway, go ahead and introduce. Well, you don't have to really introduce yourself because people know you. But how you feeling, Renee? What's up?
I'm good. Thank you for the invite and for having me on. Dr. Yusef, it's nice to quasi meet you. Oh, he just dropped. He disappeared. Yeah. I don't know what happened. Monty got jokes in the chat. There's definitely something that has to be pushed, but don't get me to lying about what exactly that is, because I just don't know.
The chat, y'all gonna have to bear with me. I gotta remember where that thing at where you have to.
Hey, see, Brittany understands.
Play a sound when guests enter. Oh no! Yeah.
Lord, there we go, Geechee.
I remember seeing it before.
Hold on.
I don't know where it's at. There we go.
There you go.
Look at me.
Y'all You found it.
All right, listen. So this is how we gonna lay it out. So Renee, you put together this piece that I feel like has been able to kind of like tell people to shut their ass up and read a little bit more. But one of the things that Dr. Amos Wilson says that I always repeat is these buckers have control, and they're in control over the domains of discourse, right? So they have the ability to tell us what we're arguing about, what is important and what is not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of laid out that the Super Bowl is basically a money maker and or a news maker, right? So it's a bunch of money being made, but it's also some shit that we're gonna be talking about for 2 weeks. So tell us more about what you attempted to do in this latest piece.
So the real frustration for me is people confusing their own reactions to art as a generalization of what the art intended to do, right? So you can say like, I felt revolutionized by watching this, or I felt like I got a message, or I felt, you can feel whatever you want. But to say this was a televised revolution is like, it was just one of the most absurd things that came across to me, because there is never at any point in time going to be a televised revolution that is part of a halftime show of the Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen, because the Super Bowl itself as an entity is antithetical to revolution, right? The Super Bowl is like it's like an intersection of all the things that revolution would prevent: capitalism, imperialism, militarization, like all the things, right? And so so for me, hearing people say that over and over again, and then seeing the white people presenting these like explanations for why people don't understand, like how deep and and how much was really being revealed by Kendrick Lamar's performance, it was like making my stomach hurt. And so I always, my theory in all things is, if I'm frustrated enough that I feel like I need to write it down so people can follow exactly what I'm trying to say, and then you can I'm happy to have a discourse. We can engage about it. I've had plenty of people. In fact, I got a text message yesterday that was like, we got to talk so you can shoot down my theory about this whole thing. Like, I don't mind engaging, but what I'm not going to do is be party to a nonsensical argument about something that simply cannot be the thing. Like, it cannot be a televised revolution during the halftime show of the Super Bowl, period. It cannot be.
So, how you doing, Renee?
I'm well. Nice to quasi meet you.
I agree with your principal position. What I would like to engage you on is, you open up the article referencing the Vernon philosophy.
The Vernon philosophy. Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that in the sense of as your methodology to the article, and how people would lead them to perceive as Kendrick was putting on a revolution, so to speak.
Right. So the Vernon philosophy is actually something that Jared talks about all the time when we engage about movies and television shows and so forth, where there's a representation of Black people, that in that representation, you can initially feel good, but once you understand all of the things that come behind that representation, you realize that it is a flawed exercise, because you are never truly going to get from that representation what you need, which is a true understanding of how things work, right? And so Vernon, funny enough, was actually like some dude that Jared worked at a pizzeria with, who got irritated after watching a movie and was basically like, I'm never going to go see a movie with Black people again, because they always have you thinking, it's about something. And then when you really think about it, it's not about anything that you really need it to be about, right? It's like this flawed experience of doing something and being wowed by the representation, without understanding that the representation does not actually do anything to improve the situation, to improve the material conditions, to improve understanding, to improve knowledge, like none of it. So that's what the Vernon philosophy, that's my breakdown of the Vernon philosophy.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And just following up with that answer, and expanding beyond not only just Kendrick, but other performers, right, who do things that's creative, pushing the envelope to some degree, and people take that as radical, or some may call revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm under the belief, because of the absence of a true revolutionary party, organization, revolutionary struggle, people cling on to what they think is revolutionary, or get satisfied. I mean, even to the point where we have individuals who are doing it and who wear red, black, and green, who say all the most red, black, and green talk. Can you make that connection, not only from an artist, but also from so-called activist organizer, who are continuing to uphold this false identity of falsehood around struggle?
I mean, I just agree with you, right? I think that is a major part of the problem when we look at things like this, is there are very few places where people can go to actually struggle with how they pursue the improvement of their own material conditions, right? And so while people, and we talk about this a lot, Geechee knows, like, we are constantly in a pursuit of like peace, right? So as a regular person, you are likely, you have your job, you have your bills, you have whatever internal struggles, you know, within your own head, with your family, with the people you live with your bosses, with all these people, and you're constantly on this wheel, right, of just spinning and spinning and spinning and just trying to get through the day so you can get to the next day. And this is all intentional, in my understanding, right? Like the system intentionally puts us in this position to always be fighting to get to a place of normalcy. And we're so busy fighting to get to that place of normalcy, we don't have the energy, the time, or for some people, the desire to understand that it is the system around you that puts you in that position, right? And if you don't know where to go, if you're not in an organization, if you don't read, if you don't, you know, make an actual effort outside of like that daily spending to try and really comprehend what is happening, right? It is very easy to fall victim to all of these things, right? To fall victim to the person who says things, who's loud enough, who, you know, says things with the right cadence, who like whatever, you know, who stands on a stage and has performers around them in the right colors. Like it's easy to fall to that because you're looking for something that makes you feel a little less crazy, right? Like anything that makes you feel a little less like, yo, this shit is wild. Mm-hmm. Is something that people will cling to, because what else do they have if they're not seeking actual information and knowledge?
So Renee, I'm gonna play this little clip, and I want you to respond to it with your larger arguments around that human flag that they did, and the video of this brother who made a flag. And yeah, so after the video play, just talk about, you know, what your reflections of that is, or your response to that, and then some of the contradictions you might have pointed out in your piece as you reflect on this and what you attempted to do with the or what you attempted to say with the flag situation.
Zulkarnain Nantambu, the performer who raised a Sudanese-Palestinian flag during Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show, has no regrets about his protest, which he says was a message of solidarity with the victims of conflicts in Sudan and Gaza. The self-proclaimed freedom fighter explained that his actions were inspired by his faith in Islam, not politics. Nantambu, who had been hired as a participant in the show and was involved in the Super Bowl preparations for 2 weeks, unfurled the flag on a car prop during Lamar's set, ran around the field, and was quickly removed by security, exposing a significant security lapse at the event. While banned from NFL stadiums for life, he has not been charged. Nantambu maintains the protest was not part of Lamar's performance, stating that the rapper had no prior knowledge of his actions. Despite facing backlash, Nantambu has been praised on social media for drawing attention to the conflicts and standing up for Muslims in these regions. Did you notice this during the halftime performance?
I notice it. How would anybody who wasn't in the stadium notice it? They made sure that brother wasn't on TV. They made sure he stayed off camera. So, I mean, if it wasn't because we live in a day and age where people are recording absolutely everything, right? Like, we likely wouldn't have even known that brother was there, right? Like that, there's no way. Because it's not like Kendrick Lamar was like, yo, leave him alone. Right? He didn't stop and tell them not to tackle the man, right? He didn't say, come stand with me with your flag so that everybody could see. He had no interest in that. Like that, that was not part of the plan. And you know, Kendrick Lamar has been, you know, conspicuously silent on all of these things. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that he did not make any attempt to uplift that dancer or to spare him from being tackled or to support him in any way, right? And so, you know, when I posted that video of the dancer with the flag, my statement was, this is the only part of the halftime show that people should be amped about. And that's it for me. Like, yeah.
I'm interested in your take on the Muslim brother who says his position or stance that he took, it had nothing to do with politics. In actuality, it had everything to do with politics.
Absolutely. I think people often say that when they don't want to engage in a conversation about politics, right? They just say, "Oh, this wasn't about politics," right? It is there. I don't even know if I can think of anything that you could do that would gain a response that doesn't in some way have some sort of political like piece to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, to me, I don't actually like when people say that. And I read an interview with the dancer, and he seemed to indicate that it was he said within the interview that it was hearing Kendrick Lamar talk about, like, you know, in practice, say like the revolution's going to be televised and it's more than the music, that actually gave him it in part inspired him to do this thing, right? And so I think maybe even in a way he thought, like, you know, well, if it's really about revolution and it's really about more than the music, then something like this should be acceptable, right? Like, it should be okay for me to raise these flags and to raise consciousness about what's happening on the other side of the earth. And then he got tackled. And when they asked him about being barred from the NFL, he was like, "You think that's what I was thinking about? Like, I was worried that I was going to get hit by a sniper while I was running around." Like, that was his answer. So you can't possibly think in your head that you could be sniped for holding a flag if it's not political. So to me, he's just saying that because he don't want to engage in the conversation on politics. And I guess he just somehow thought that saying it's religious, it's because I'm a Muslim, was better, but it just don't fit for me.
I think that's an excellent point, and I have a more comment now. It's the lack of commitment that we have to develop the political ideologies that's necessary to engage. Like, when I read your article, it hit me, right? It made perfect sense, and I was struggling with it in the sense, like, who's Renee's audience, right? Of the subject matter, and because of, even though I'm trying to stay out the chat, like the chat over there, wrong thing. And I mean, you know, the performance is political. The Super Bowl show is political, and is how do we provide a political analysis, and even to the point where, you know, Kendrick says the revolution will be televised. That doesn't make him a revolutionary, but also going back, I can't remember, was it Gil Scott-Heron or the Last Poets?
Yes.
Who also, one of those who said the revolution won't be televised.
Yeah, it was Gil Scott-Heron.
Yeah, he wasn't a revolutionary,
right?
He was an artist, but again, he was more on the right side of history, but he wasn't a revolutionary either.
Right. And when he actually, there's an interview that you can find that I watched where someone asked him, "What did you mean by that?" And he explains that recognizing when the revolution happens is internal, right? And so for every person, that moment can happen at any point when you become revolutionized and you realize, like, I got to fight this system because this system is going to kill me, right? And so what he explains is that when he says the revolution is not going to be televised, it's because it's not something that, for most people, and I mean, according to him, for me, you know, I guess it's possible that you could be live on television when it happens, right? But the reality is, it's something that is an internal recognition of the problems of the system, and that you're willing to fight those problems. And therefore, it's not something that would be a publicly accessed event. So it's interesting when you look at how he explains what he meant when he said the revolution is not going to be televised, right? How people turned it around because Kendrick Lamar said, "Oh, the revolution's about to be televised," without obviously understanding what Gil Scott Heron meant when he said those words. You know what I mean?
So y'all watching or listening to Dare to Struggle, Dare to Win, episode 6, or you even maybe rewatching it. We're here talking to Miss Renee Johnston. And yeah, we're getting to this conversation around Kendrick Lamar's performance, maybe even Jay-Z's influence, and then our response. So Renee, I want to kind of stay in that area where we're kind of talking, y'all both was talking about this, but explicitly in your piece. And I'm thinking like, okay, so as black and beautiful as ball chasers and entertainers can be, and they will always be, continue to be, they won't stop corporate media's attempt to co-opt the message, redefine the movement, or even as we seeing redefine what revolution means or look like. And I'm kind of channeling this conversation I always have with Jared in terms of, especially as you talk about the words that Kendrick threw out there. When he threw out revolution will not be televised. And among other things that he might intentionally said, do you see him as confusing intentionally radical elements? Do you see him co-opting it? Do you think that he's really thinking that he's doing something that's gonna move people? Do you think he, or do you think it's kind of like, yo, he know his bank account about to be flooded and his schedule is about to be changed for the foreseeable future? So what do you think? Again, I know you don't probably do this, but what do you think is the intentions behind Kendrick, or is he just caught up in this moment?
So that's such a hard question to answer, right? Because I am not in that man's head. So I literally have no real understanding of what it was that he intended to do, right? My guess is he intended to make sure that he, got enough views on this performance that he was going to do what the result is of what the intended result is of the Super Bowl. Because remember, people don't get paid for their Super Bowl performances, right? Not for the pre-show, not for the halftime. All of the money that is earned by doing the halftime show is via, that exposure that you get for being the halftime show performance, right? So for the NFL, picking whoever is going to be the halftime performer is a really big deal because it is part of their marketing and ad revenue strategy, right? Like they have to pick somebody who is going to sell those 30-second spots, right? Who is going to be like, it was the Apple halftime show. Like all of these things are parts of the mechanisms that allow the NFL to make money off of the halftime show. So Kendrick Lamar's actual purpose, right, is to make sure that he is able to make money from that exposure, right? Now, is it possible that somewhere, in his gray matter, he thought to himself, well, I'm gonna say these things and maybe it'll kick off a few people to really think, and it's possible, right? I don't know him, so I can't say anything like that. I can't say with a certainty, right, what the answer is to that question. What I can say is that's unlikely, right? Based on the fact that even the songs that he was singing during his performance are not revolutionary. They're not about like pushing people to understand the struggle or to understand capitalism, right? Within the article that I wrote, I talk about the words that he said, but I also laid out a list of words he didn't say, right? Like he didn't say housing, he didn't say immigration, he didn't say war, he didn't say military, like he didn't say all of the words that are really about getting people to have a vested interest in learning about what is truly impacting their material conditions. So for me, his goal was to put on a show that was going to make people talk, that was going to make people engage in these conversations about what it was that he was actually trying to do. Because in doing that, it ups the views, right? His halftime show is now record breaking, right? It's the most seen halftime show in the history of the Super Bowl since they started doing this, right? So, but that's the goal. So whatever is going to get him to that goal, so he can buy another $1.2 million chain or buy some more, $1,200 tight jeans, like whatever, whatever the goal is in continuing to profit off of capitalism. That's his goal. Like that's his end result.
So I want to bring one of the conversations out of one of our group chats here. So we've shared a couple times in the group chat, like the manifestations of the reperformance or reenactment of Kendrick's. So you have Will Ferrell, you have everybody literally. I saw a video of this teacher looking like she's in Africa with African students and they're mustard on the beat, and all that other stuff. Like what is happening right now? Like what is happening? Share, please share.
I don't know what's happening, man. That's what it's so frustrating. I don't know. Like I admit that I am probably a hard person to even engage in these conversations with, right? Because people want an excuse to be like, oh, look at this cool thing that happened, or look at the pageantry and look at the symbolism and all these things. And then when you say to them, like, okay, well, what did you learn through this performance? There's no answer, right? What is the thing that you are, like you are enacted to do? Like what's the call to action that you got from this performance? Nothing. Go to Spotify. That's right. Like that's that's the call to action. Go to Spotify, make another video, hope you can gain some views off of like, your representation of the pageantry. Like what does that do in the end? But distract. It's all a distraction. And unfortunately, a lot of people like to be distracted. Like, sometimes I wish I wasn't paying as much attention as I paid because it's exhausting.
So staying in line with that question and your response, and it's actually bigger than Kendrick. And the question is, why is it necessary to critique artists, the creativity within a political framework? Because as we all know, everything's political, but the nature of the response to what's political, why is that important?
So I think it's important because we are inundated by propaganda and distraction, right? Like everything around us is an effort to distract us away from the realities of our material conditions, right? I'm actually funny. I'm rereading Tip of the Spear right now. And one of the things that he really highlights is how the state's response to the revolt was to give them other things to do so that they would stop thinking about how awful their actual living conditions are, right? So we're going to bring in programs and this thing and events and marathons and all these things, because if we can keep you distracted by all these things, maybe you won't be able to actually sit with the fact that you are incarcerated and living in a state of imprisonment, right? And I feel like it's the same thing. If we don't force people to really recognize that they are being distracted by things that simply exist to distract them, then everybody remains distracted, right? And I said it, like, it's exhausting, but I also don't want to be the only one here, right? Like, I don't want to be the only person who watches it and recognizes, like, yo, this is absurd. Like, how did we get to a place where y'all are actually like throwing in words like revolution to a situation where we are literally just advertising capitalism? How does that happen?
So I wonder if there's a response, and I don't know if you got this yet, and maybe you will. And I joke with Jared and Tume that the minute somebody teach this shit in one of them classrooms in their institutions, I'm leaving this motherfucking country again and not coming back. But what is your response to like? I mean, it's entertainment. Like you don't have to intellectualize everything.
You don't.
Damn,
No.
why you be so deep about this? What's that?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have been if other people weren't responding the way they did, right? If I wasn't in my, listen, in my own distraction, right? I live in my contradictions. I'm a real scroller, right? Like I sit on Instagram and just watch stuff, right? If I wasn't coming across multiple reels of people trying to convince me why what Kendrick Lamar did was revolution, I might not have even commented on it because I didn't watch it, right? Until all of these things started coming across and I was watching these reactions, right? I was paying it zero. Like I literally left the room when it went to the halftime show. And I went and I actually think I was like playing a game and listening to a book and waiting for the third quarter to start, right? I did not watch it. And so the reason I watched it is because I don't ever want to be a person who makes commentary on something that I did not experience firsthand, right? So I'm not going to write about a book that I didn't read. I'm not going to talk about a movie that I didn't watch. So the same thing with this presentation. I had to watch it in order to really be able to sit with what everybody was attempting to present in their reviews of it. If it wasn't for that, I might have never watched this halftime show. Like literally, I still haven't seen Beyonce's from whenever she did the Black Panther thing. I can't. I don't have it in me. And I love football. So this is another living contradiction. So I participate to watch the games. That's it. I'm watching the game, and outside of the game, I'm tuning everything else out.
I'm gonna jump off the cliff a little bit. What if there was Black Thought though, and he, got up there and did it with it?
They ain't letting him up there. You don't never have to worry about that.
Just play along with it, brother, for a moment. What if it was Black Thought? Would it have been okay then?
Yeah. I mean, if it's somebody that I thought was going to go up there and actually do something that was going to engage people in a real, like, struggle with the realities of the situation, I probably would watch it. Yes, I concede that. I would probably watch it. But if I know, for the most part, it's going to be nonsense because it has to be nonsense in order for them to allow it, right? Like one of the things that I mentioned in the article and that I've said a few times now is, everyone should note how quickly the NFL produced the statement apologizing for the dancer with the flags, right? They quickly responded to make sure that everybody knew they ain't had nothing to do with that. It was not part of the plan. They didn't intend it, right? There was no response to Kendrick Lamar's performance. They didn't come out and say like, oh, we're sorry that people were offended, but because they knew, right? They checkmarked that bad boy. They've been watching him perform that and practice it for weeks, right? That was all done with the approval of the NFL, with the approval of CBS or Fox or whichever station played it, right? It's done with their approval. So somebody who is going to get up there and really challenge thought and really tell people, to look around and understand their conditions. And here is a call to action. Go organize. Go. They ain't letting them on stage to do that. They may sign them up. And once they find out what that performance is going to be, somebody else is going to be up there.
No mustard on a beat, yo.
Oh my God.
Real quick, I'm gonna try to get a few questions in the chat. Cherie asks, I wonder if there was a more creative way to engage in it where you use what he did to point out real issues and then say, this isn't what he did.
What is she? I'm not sure what's meant by creative way. I mean, I point that out in the article. Like, these are the words he used, and these are the actual issues that he could have spoke on that would have pointed out actual issues, right, that are affecting the material conditions of people. He said none of those words. That none of that was part of the performance. And in fact, I went as far as to pull the lyrics for his songs because look, call it because I'm almost 50 or whatever it is. Like I couldn't understand. I can't understand almost nothing of what he says while he's performing. Right? I can't keep up. So I went this extra step of looking up the lyrics because I was like, maybe it's me because I didn't understand it. Maybe, maybe like his lyrics say something that's a little more like, so if you understand what he's saying, right? Mm-hmm. But then I read the lyrics and no, it's not in there either. So.
But I think that's the lure of Kendrick, right? His, I haven't watched none of his performances. I've seen him afterwards. I think like the BET where he came out in chains or something like that, right? He does enough to gravitate to people, and I think most of us are hungry for artists, particularly in hip hop, that's revolutionary, radical. But in reality, if you're a mainstream artist, you're not revolutionary.
Yeah, you cannot be. Right.
I mean, the most Black Thought, Nas, you name it, they're not revolutionary. They're not radical because in all temper purpose, they're chasing the bag.
Right.
And by chasing the bag, there's some level of compromising there. And you say enough because also the reality you're Black in America. So
right.
There's some level of conscience on some folks. So just want to really just throw that out there for the audience of people that we tend to just get sucked in. And again, bringing it back to the community side, I mean, like we got sucked in with the new Black Panther Party. We got sucked in with the other organization. It's my own opinion, where folks we're looking for what we saw in the past. Mm-hmm. And as we thought, we let down our standard because we want it so bad that we get caught up in the emotion of it. Right.
I see no lies there. I agree with you. And it's a problem. It is a real problem because while people are excited about these artistic representations of actual struggle, right? What are they being taught about what it means to struggle? Because struggling is not being on stage with your 200 dancers wearing your chains and at the Super. That's not struggle. His life is not struggle. His presentation is not struggle, right? So what is it exactly that people are taking from that would indicate anything about what a real struggle towards liberation is about, right? Nothing. It's not possible.
So I would love to for you to share any other things you have coming up, things that people can watch out for. Yeah, please do.
Well, we got Cloud coming on Saturday to talk immigration, which is exciting stuff for folks in the New Jersey area. BAP and MAPSO Freedom School are doing a teach-in Saturday at 4:00 in Maplewood about AFRICOM and the Sahel states. My abolition group resumes next Tuesday, so people can go to Is Your Life Better to sign up for the monthly abolition meetings. And on the 27th, the Green Party in New Jersey will be hosting your very own Geechee and Jared and Ntume, and actually Felina, who is part of the Green Party Black Caucus, is going to join, so we can talk about some of these realities of distraction and the battle towards trying to gain actual power. So.
You know what? Since you said that, maybe we should do a sneak peek to what might be talked about. Somebody had a comment in the chapter, and I'll let you. I ain't gonna hold you hostage no longer, but
no, it's good. I got a couple of minutes.
Ani said this, but if somebody else said something about, oh yeah, so most people don't even understand what politics is. And
that's true. That is also true.
Roderick says, how do you define politics? So I've been having this conversation that started from PEs that we had this weekend, and it just been going with different people. Yeah, how would y'all define politics, or what is political? Because again, the pretext, and we talked about this at with the review crew, that we was having a conversation around food issues, and the question was, which one is the biggest barrier between the three? Policy, public policy, political. Is it an economic issue or a cultural issue? And two of us said obviously political, but somebody was trying to argue economic. So when you think about policy or political, like, how would you define politics or explain
so I say it is a tough question, but in its easiest, I guess in my own brain, my simplest terms are the structures and factors that definitively impact your material conditions.
You got something?
So I would take it from this approach. A lot of times, you went to certain meetings, and as the meeting began, the question was, what is your politics?
Mm-hmm.
And now you have to define or talk about your ideology. So for me, my politics, I'm a new African revolutionary nationalist. It is the ideology that governs how I operate and what I'm seeking in my aspirations, which is as a nationalist who has revolutionary orientation, fighting for self-determination for new African people. Again, that's the political struggle of it. And I think, again, because of the country we live in and the word politics is so tied into electoral politics, we immediately think about electoral politics, but not realizing our struggle is political. And your ideology that you adopt becomes your politics to how you engage in your struggle.
Yeah. And I would definitely also say, in terms of politics, it's maybe beliefs or practices that you believe that can bring upon the social order that you want to live in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your policy that you go by, your beliefs, your ideals, I think that's what policy is, or politics is. And then when you start talking about power, your ability to force other people to act in those policies is something totally different. But political power and policies is definitely something that guides people's way into achieving a particular social order. So we as revolutionaries or people who are anti this shit should also have some things that we are for. And those policies normally speak to those things that we are for, or the things that we're organizing around to build a particular social order. So I think that's how I would probably explain it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds right. I will add one final note that I think is hysterical about the halftime show, because I just started coming across these reels and I just find it fascinating. It is the white people who are mad that there were no white people in the show. Because I just think it's hysterical. And the response to them has been, y'all are the ones who didn't want DEI, right? If we working on a meritocracy, you're not going to have no white people dancing on stage. So that gave me a nice chuckle, and it gave me a relief from all the chaos that has ensued as a result of this halftime show. But I appreciate you all inviting me on and letting me answer the questions, and for reading the piece. Dr. Yusef, you mentioned like who's my audience. I have no idea. Like I write when I feel like writing. It goes to whoever says like email me when you write something. When I tell you I literally have no idea. I'm more so write to make myself feel better, because it allows me to fully express my thoughts, and then I let it be where it is.
Well, we picked the audience for you. Whoever talking that Kendrick shit, just send them that link. And the link is in the show notes. Also in the show notes is more conversation around burning philosophy, which Jared obviously came up with along with his.
we gonna have to bring Jared on and break that down, because that's the hot topic of the day.
Yeah,
All right, well,
it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one.
Pretty sure if he's not in bed, he has time to come in. But without further ado, we're gonna get to the Detroit chapter. One of the
Appreciate
leaders.
you, Renee, and thank you for coming
No
on.
problem. All right, y'all have a good one.
Quick break, y'all. We be back.
I'm throwing copper at the coppers, but I'm shaking like Morocco. Say my prayers with the pistol, serve the sinners with the chopper. All my buddies got it from scratch. My house had Betty Crocker. His mama on D. He ain't even get no shot up. Profit is invisible. Profit come from product. He thinking buffet. He can't comprehend no potluck. God bless the child with his own powder to rock.
Dare to struggle, dare to win.
You wasn't even gonna say that. You wasn't even gonna say
Every time I see Sherry, I want to dance. How you doing?
I don't know what that's about. I don't know what is really
I
happening.
just feel like dancing when I was seeing Sherry.
I have that effect on people. I've been told that. Like that's what I've been told.
What's up, my favorite? One of my favorite green thumb people.
Man, listen, not too much. It's a beautiful, beautiful chilly Wednesday evening in the D.
I see them glasses you got going on.
Yeah.
They
I'm trying to do a little something. You know, I'm trying to get like you. I'm trying to get like you. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get like you.
You don't want to get like him. You want to stay young. Forever young. Forever.
All right,
Whatever. I was gonna say.
Where you want to start, man? We got Sherry. I mean, I'm about to call her Sherry on online.
Sure.
I don't know, man.
You can't
Yeah,
get my name wrong. Like you can't do that.
I'm tired. Blaine is a long day.
Wow.
So tell us this. Tell us how, like, what's going on there in Detroit. How you doing? So what I was thinking about to start off with. So I remember us coming up there. All of the chapters kind of met in Detroit.
April.
And I just wonder, like, what's been going on, what y'all got going on, and what maybe some reflections that you had from there to now.
Oh man, a couple things. So I think, and Detroit has heard me say this a million times. I was extremely, extremely happy at the gathering that we had. Just bringing everybody together across the country, just seeing all the different work CMB is doing in different places. That was really, really impactful because you hear it, but when you actually get to touch the people and sit in the room and you know just toss some things around with them, that I think has a major impact on everybody. I was super proud of Detroit because you know I think in Detroit people don't think about how much Detroit is about serving, and CMB Detroit is about serving and just making folks feel at home. So I feel like we did a good job of welcoming folks into our space. So. Since then, we've been doing so much. We got a lot of new members since then. So just working on building relationship between members as our chapter grows, studying and struggling some things together, planning some things, doing all of our regular programming, of course, our Big Mama Sunday events where we have a meal with the community, we have acupuncture, and we just get to know people, get to know what their needs are, meet those needs when we can, whether that's clothing, food, sources nearby, and then planning other stuff. We've kicked off some other programs and stuff, but I know you got more questions, so I'm gonna let you do that.
Well, before you and Yusef get into y'all, what up, though? So you have the Mama Cool House, which we got to spend time there. Dope ass space, dope ass community surrounding. Could you tell us more about like what goes on in that space? What is it? How do you see it as an asset to the community, or how do you feel the community receives it?
I was gonna ask Yusef if you want me to answer this question or if you want to answer this question.
Yusef, he the backup. He the backup.
Okay, all right. So I kick it off. So this should be fun. So I see this space as an extremely Black affirming space. And I would talk about representation in that too, because I think most people do not understand the importance of, so y'all know I have a Black son. My son is almost 12 years old. And the importance of my son walking into a space that uplifts Black and brown people and Black men as intellectuals and leaders and people who did positive, impactful things in history all over the space, right? From top to bottom. He can walk around and be like, oh man, who's that? And it's always something he could be learning and looking at. And so I see that space as inspirational and Black affirming in that way. And I think a lot of the things that grow out of that are because people feel like, I think of, Yusef calls me a green thumb person because I'm into urban agriculture and growing food and food sovereignty, right? But I almost think of that house as rich soil, right? Rich soil that you can grow things like mental wellness programming out of, that you can grow meeting the material needs of maybe clothing, mutual aid, assisting people with basic things, doing job training programs for young people, then adding in time when elders can just come in and play bid whist, and like we be clowning them like the younger. Some people call us aunts and uncles now, but when the bid whisters come in, we know we young. Like we can't, they be like, we got to sit down. Like we can't talk crazy to them. But a place where you can grow, places where multiple generations can be in the same space and show love to each other and not feel like anybody's out of place. So I think of it as that fertile soil. That's what I'm start calling it, Yusef. That's it. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going with now.
We welcome it.
Yeah.
So my question, can you talk about the process of being recruited into CMB?
Oh, you know the process. You know what you did.
Bunchy was a little rough dude out there.
So I came to CMB during COVID. Actually, we met at an event where we have this thing in Detroit called a Kazi Mob. Shout out to Baba Malik Yakini, who is known for his urban agriculture work. And so I had been a member of DBCFSN. Baba Malik had asked a bunch of us like, hey, do y'all want to get together and do this Kazi Mob where we would go start gardens for like elders and stuff who couldn't put in like the manual labor themselves. And so this one morning we were working for Baba Charles Simmons, and that was not far from where Yusef lived. So Yusef popped up at that event. He did not like dig up nothing. No, he probably did a little bit of work, but not a whole lot.
I definitely did a little bit.
It's a small amount.
Well, first of all, let's clear. It wasn't the work part. I'm just not a green thumb person.
Yeah. And so after that, I found out he had wrote a book, and I was trying to get the book. He was like, "Okay, yeah, meet me at this house over here to get this book." And Yusuf's a quiet guy, and I always laugh when I tell this story because he brings me the book, and he like, "You want to see this house?" I'm like, why the hell I want to see your house? Like, I didn't know what the house was. It didn't have a sign in the front. Geechee, like this was like, it didn't have a sign or nothing. I didn't know what the house. I'm like, it's weird. Like, but I was like, well, Baba Malik, no, he made it seem like he was all right. So, okay, show me this house. And so I walk in this house, and I'm like, what? Like, what is how? Where? And so after that, I don't think I stopped coming there after that. We were there all the time. I don't even remember why at this point. So like we weren't even really doing a huge amount of programming. We were coming for different events. I think that year we were doing those deliveries for the backpack giveaway because it was COVID. So we had to like deliver backpacks to people's houses and planning out routes and all kinds of stuff. And he used to drop like, so I like to read. So Yusef was like, just throwing books around and stuff, almost like breadcrumbs. He would just be walking past with boxes of books. It was all part of the game, Geechee. Okay, it was all part of it to draw me in, He was like, that's how Yusef draws in people. He's like, they got to be readers. Throw these books around. But no, and so then he in his own quiet way, he's like, yeah, so what we got to do to get you to join CMB? Like it's just one of those. It's like a gangster invitation. It's what happened, and I've been over there ever since. That was about 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. So Detroit has a beautiful, I don't even know how to call it, but a beautiful collective of people. So I met Baba Malik the first time I came to Detroit. Mm-hmm. I came there twice, and then the third time I met Yusef, and then the fourth time I came, I met you, and then Quasi, and then what's his name? I'm about to call him. What's the G? What's G name? GMAT, and it's a dope ass spot, right? And so earlier we was talking about there's different levels of radicalization and pulling people, whatever. Like, how do you explain the way in which y'all as an organization Detroit chapter draw on the intelligence and the knowledge of the people that's already there, people who probably been doing work for a long time, people that might have different vantage points or access into the work? How do y'all like pull it together and kind of make it a community effort?
I mean, I feel like we first are always thinking like, who do we know that's doing this, right? And Yusef can correct me on this. Like, I think before we do anything, a lot of times we like, okay, who we know that's already doing this, like that ain't doing it crazy, right? So we got, because we have a lot of things to go on in Detroit, right? But who do we know that's doing this? Who do we know that's a part of this? Like, let's make some phone calls to some people and ask them, okay, what's going on with this? Like, where can we find out more information about this? Or if this group over here is having a meeting about it, then we're gonna go check out what they're doing and ask questions. I don't think we've ever been too, like, I know you used to talk earlier about arrogance, but I think our group is amazing in that we've never been too full of ourselves to go ask questions or sit and learn from somebody else. Even if what we learned was, no, we ain't doing that shit. But we haven't ever been like, we can't learn something else, right? So, in Detroit, the great thing now with social media and just the different amount of work we all do in different institutions is there's just this wealth of people all the time. And so I think a lot of us are outside a lot too. That's what we say. We outside a lot. So between all the different places we all are, we're always connected with people and just bringing that back.
Yeah, I mean, only thing I would add to that is when you see the Detroit chapters, there's a history there. And that history has allowed us to build the relationships. And I think a lot of times people want to get in organizations and chapters, but don't build relationships. And that relationship helps when things go right or go wrong, to be able to be critical with each other. But also, I think one of the proudest things for me in the Detroit chapter is where, prior to Sherry being our lead, Piper was our lead. That was by design. That was intentional to having, Black women at the forefront and us men and others, galvanizing behind that, to not taken away from us, but also amplifying this, because that represents our leadership and our ability to be able to trust and build and things. And that's where, Sherry's talking about, we're touching many things, and our chapter is not perfect by any means. There's a lot of stuff that we're still struggling. However, we just have deep, there's deep ties. And I think that deep ties reflects that deep history, radical history in Detroit.
You muted, Geechee.
I've been doing that all damn day on Zoom meetings and workshops and all type of shit.
Yeah.
I know you got a couple things you got coming up. So maybe I'll throw them on the screen and you can kind of talk more about it. So the first one is Community Movement Builders Detroit community learning events. What's happening here at this event, obviously at the Mama Cool House on February 22nd at 6 p.m.
Yep. So this is an event that is going to be led by the indomitable Kwasi Akwamu. Okay.
He said that word. You said that word again before you said his name.
Indomitable. Okay. Indomitable. The intellectual, the erudite one. He is going to be blessing everybody on that day. It will be a very, very, very in-depth discussion about imperialism and the barbarism that is coming against a lot of our immigrant brothers and sisters. So we'll be talking about that this Saturday, I think at 6, right? I think that's what it said on the screen.
Yes.
At the house. So yeah, folks can pull up and we'll probably do some snippets. And then on Sunday, February 23rd, we have our Big Mama Sunday community dinner starting at 1:00. Right, Yusef?
Yes.
Okay.
What time you gonna be there, you?
He gonna be there at 10:30. Listen. He gonna be there at 10:30, trying to get everybody else there at 10:30.
Right.
Dang, man.
Yeah. So we're gonna be coming together. Come get a plate. And this is not, like I always tell people, this is not your standard. Let's feed some stuff we probably wouldn't even eat to other people. No, we gonna get in the kitchen. We cooking up some things. We bring in some food that we gonna share and really break bread. And at the same time as Big Mama Sunday, we also have a partnership with the ADS Collective where they do acupuncture after the Matulu Shakur method, so folks can come get acupuncture during that time as well. And just talk, shoot the breeze, get to know some folks. We're going to be experimenting with playing a movie upstairs because I know a lot of people want to play a soundtrack to a coup d'etat at all times. So that's probably gonna be playing upstairs during the meal as well.
Yo,
And
what about this one? You got some heavy hitters over here.
We do. So Liberation Mondays is our open mic poetry event. We kicked this off at the end of December with Big Tongo, okay, our new adopted Detroit CMV member. We have taken him on in Detroit. We just training him a little bit more on his what up those, and he's almost there. Okay, he's almost there. We just got to break him into the cold, get him a better bubble coat. But yeah, every Monday night we're doing 7 p.m. We got Peace Bell, who is a heavy hitter in her own right in the Detroit poetry scene, as well as Tongo as our host. And we just have folks come out, share some poetry. Sometimes poetry they wrote. Sometimes it's just things they want to recite and just listen and just have conversations. Sometimes we just have a round, circle where folks just pour into each other. So it's a pretty cool moment that we have. So we are having a lot of activity.
So listen, man, I want y'all to give it up for my sister Sherry.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Coming through.
I got to get back down there.
Making everybody want to dance and stuff.
I don't know about the dancing, Geechee. I don't know.
Don't y'all got Detroit Shuffle or some shit like that? Don't y'all be dancing and shit?
You just making up things? Are you making things up right now?
The Detroit jig.
Right, that's a whole thing. That's a whole genre. Okay.
Y'all got y'all up there turning concrete to farms and shit. Y'all just
that's what you got to do, right? That's what you got to do. Yeah. That is the way. Next time y'all got to bring me earlier because I was taking all kind of notes during the conversation earlier. But we don't have time today. Okay. Next time I just need to be peeking in from the back. That's all. Let me peek in. Okay.
Listen, man. Listen, we appreciate you, sister. Keep doing the bang up work, and please keep that white hair dude right there in line because somebody
listen. I try my best to walk alongside my brethren. Okay, that's all I do. I try my best. Okay, to walk alongside y'all. Know I love y'all. It is wonderful. Do I just get out? You shove me out? Like how do I get out? do I just shove out of here?
This is how we kick you out. Peace. Yo, man. So look, man, another episode down in the books. Let's talk about some reflections, some thoughts. I did highlight a couple of things in the chat that Mike can, that we can kind of quick build on. But yeah, what's some reflections from the Kendrick conversation and obviously hearing your sister comrade talk about your work?
I thought you and I kind of talked about the pre conversation before the conversation. It went better than I thought. I didn't think it was going wrong, but just I was at the position where like the Kendrick shit is just overblown, and I'm on the side where he's not a revolutionary, and Pac is my all-time favorite hip hop artist, and people down the swore say he's a revolutionary. Pac was not a revolutionary. He had a revolutionary spirit. He was raised by revolutionaries. He had aspirations, but he was not a revolutionary. And because of our hunger for revolution and for revolutionaries, let me back up. Our hunger for change.
There we go.
We confuse and we call folks revolutionaries, and also because they give us the carrot. Has Kendrick done some creative things? Has he said some thought-provoking things? And I think that's why it's important. I think for this conversation because it's political. I definitely agree with Jared. Some of the kind of discussions I've had with him previously, particular relationship to the Dear Mama series when we talked about that. Art is political. It is designed for some particular reason, and Kendrick, how they designed and created was all the symbolism was for a particular reason, and it's important that we have to break that down because if not, the masses digest it and says Kendrick is the next Malcolm X.
Yeah. I think that, so for me, I think it's kind of like in line with not getting out in front of the people and not being too annoyed with where your people are currently at. And I know sometimes the Ruba will say stuff like, we're fighting battles we already won, as if winning means that you can't retract or you can't go back and have to refight some shit, right? Because moving forward or winning something and it not being sustainable means it could not last. So if we're still there, that means we did something that contribute to us still being there. It means we still have to engage it. So I feel like I can get annoyed with talking with people or talking through people who have a particular approach to some of the stuff, but I'm never like not up for intellectual struggle around whatever needs to be struggled around. And then also I'm not for conceding to allowing dominant narratives from corporate owned media and corporate owned entertainment to like continuously assault people who are actually doing real work and continuously assault the memories and the legacies of our ancestors. Like I don't know if I could just keep sitting by watching that. So I think having those type of conversations is necessary. And to combat the shit is important. So
yeah, I mean, to your point, that's part of the struggle, right? And I think part of this struggle in this conversation is the lack of our side. When I say our side, what is the Black radical tradition, the Black movement, things, and I'm using these terms loosely. Black liberation. Like there's a lot in the space, or this larger space, and who's actually credible. Like there's this guy in Detroit one time, and they was having a protest around the corner. And I was going in the opposite direction, but somebody thought I was with them because I had on beads, red, black, and green. And I didn't want to say nothing disparaging against the person to this person. So I'm like, what the fuck do I say? Like, no, I ain't going over there. But when I left, I processed it. People didn't know how to distinguish us. They just saw motherfucker red, black, and green. So we all the same. And like, no, we're not all the same. Think different, operate different, and those of us who are on the right side, those of us who are pushing the correct political line, we have to consolidate ourselves to be able to really make a larger impact. Not to your point that you've been making throughout the show today, is to get ahead of the people, but get more infused with the people. If we become more infused with the people, and then we grow in a way that mass conscience begin to expand, and we can be able to counter this bullshit at a different level.
Yeah, I think a few of these comments, I don't even know. SMA says, I think Black media is made to confuse white folks. I saw that, and I don't know if I understood what was being said there.
I mean, I would take that as maybe Roland Martin or something like that, possibly. I mean,
it's not confusing white folks. It's funded by white folks, or if anything, it's confusing Black folks because Black folks might associate it with power and ability to, control the narrative. And the reality is those ads are not going to come in unless your politics are in line with the dominant politics. So I wasn't sure with that. That's kind of why I highlighted that.
No, I feel you.
There's a vacuum in the political arena, and that space is being filled by everyone who shouldn't be there. Again, I don't think that we can't afford to concede those spaces. Shout out to David. I love that Renee is on talking about Vernon philosophy is growing. I remember when I first heard it and I was like, yo, if you really want to talk about it, that should be the center stage of all of these viewing and talkbacks that we be having. And I do love this new thing we're doing with the review crew, with me and Tume, Jared, and Renee, like watch some of these oldest movie and dissect it. It's been pretty fun. It's been on Patreon and soon to come to Black Liberation Media. But I do think it's important to have people in spaces to delegitimize this bullshit, because even with that they clone Tyrone shit, I was hella frustrated that people was trying to talk about like, oh, this movie is telling the truth and it's this and that and that, and this idea of you're gonna be able to like tell white people a particular thing or organize Black people from the TV screens is quite wild. So what else was it?
Y'all should do a movie called Uptight, man.
Uptight? What was that about?
Uptight actually it was based upon revolutionary organization out of Cleveland. It predated the Mac. Actually, the lead character in the Mac was the lead character in Uptight. He was a revolutionary. A year later, they have him playing the Mac, and it's Ruby D.
What's the name of it again?
It's Uptight. It's on YouTube.
Uptight movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in 68?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, and what's powerful about it when you look at it, all the movies that followed it was a political shift. It captured the imagination, with Superfly, the Mac, etc., and like some of the same characters, and it just shifted, particularly, and it's the same time frame where the Black Power movement, the Black Liberation movement, is kind of being undermined, and it helps make that shift with that.
yeah, no, I don't think I ever seen that, but yeah, I'll put
Yes,
put that on our list.
Yeah.
So it didn't come before Spook. Oh, I guess it's the same year, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we got to check that out, man. But yeah, anything else before we wrap up, man? I appreciate y'all for coming through and checking us out here on episode 6. Got to talk to Renee Johnston, and then the highlight.
I feel like the King Kong of the show.
You the King Kong of the show. You the Umar of the show. You can have that title, bro. Oh, I'm sorry. I did want it to. I don't know who this person is, but I wanted us to respond and then maybe the chat. But
who that?
Somebody says only pushback I give about Kendrick is that while he's not a revolutionary, his music is a good entry point far as getting someone to engage with more radical thoughts. I don't know how in the hell that has been concluded. Maybe I'm not privy enough to Kendrick's work, but I don't know how that happened or how that happens. What do you think? I mean, I don't know if you know Kendrick either, but in chat, what do y'all think?
I mean, I haven't listened to Kendrick music enough. Again, I mean, just overall from the observation, he flirts with certain creative things. Also, he flirts with the embodiment of Pac. Like there's a song, I think, the Pimp the Butterfly. Here, the end of the song, he found an old interview with Tupac, and it's like him interviewing Tupac. I think things like that has allowed him to be resonated with people. Also, Pac and him, West Coast. I think those things is really, and I think people. I mean, obviously, him and Tupac are two different artists. But I think it is from that lineage that people are thinking that he's Tupac, and even Tupac necessarily wasn't producing radical thinkers, but he was more radical in his position, and it was just in his stance and stuff. So that's my take.
I'm with Zinzi. You gonna have to send me 2 songs that I could listen to and come to that conclusion to, or even come close to that, and I would love that. So yeah, that's all I got, man. I appreciate y'all. Show your work.
The chat out.
That shit funny. Now you gonna have to show your work on that one. You ain't just gonna be able to drop that shit in there and talk about people gonna become radicalized by. Oh, but Sherry agreed with it. We might. You know what? I'm thinking about pulling Tongo and Rain Ali, and maybe like Musa together and have a panel about artists, and even Cherie, and see if we can have a panel about art, entertainment as it relates to organizing and politics. So maybe we can help our sister help us facilitate that, since she agreed.
Sound like a plan, man.
What'd you say?
Sound like a plan. You gonna give people a taste of what's going on next week?
Next week, if all goes well, my brother Mikael wrote a book, or co-wrote a book about Dapper Dan in Harlem, and I think we're gonna kind of get into that to kind of flesh that out. I think and he's also writing a book now about Rucker Park. So we're gonna bring my brother on next week and talk through that. And yeah, And obviously there's more to come. There's more people that we got, on the docket. But if you know of some people who have some good content out there, good work out there, definitely, and you want to see them interview, shoot them out to us. And then the week after that, who we got coming up?
We got Conrad Kwame Aquamo from Detroit, an intellectual giant, man, that's going to come bring some analysis around Pan-Africanism, nationalism. Where do they connect, depart? Just trying to, push a line and bring some clarity.
Absolutely, man. Listen, man, you got anything coming up, man? As you kick it out,
man. Just relaxing, good brother. It's cold. It's so cold in the day. So I had to go put my hoodie on, brother. I'll turn my heat up.
I thought y'all, don't get cold up there. I thought y'all
shit, man. This morning it was this morning. Yesterday it was -4. No, it wasn't. It was 4 degrees, brother. Man, shit.
Well, look, man. Y'all stay tuned for next week. Come early. Bring your friend and all them people, man. But until then, we'll catch y'all later. Peace, y'all.
Peace.